Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 14th, and you're riding with me on my morning drive, and we're going to talk politics as usual. My name is John, and in case you're tuning in for the first time, for the next 20 or 30 minutes, we're going to be talking politics while driving. Well, yesterday was Tuesday, and as you know, during election years, it's generally primary time. And last night, we had Mississippi and Alabama, a couple of southern states, a couple of Bible Belt states, of course, heavy evangelical population, and definitely heavy on the Obama derangement syndrome. Those people still think he's a Muslim. So, go figure. What are you going to do, I mean, and Ricky. Santorum made the sweep, baby. I couldn't believe it. I didn't think he was going to be able to do it. I'm not surprised, really, because those two states are dumb enough to elect somebody like him president because he's all about the Bible. He's a Christian. And the extremism runs deep in those states. So, no surprise, Santorum cleaned up Mississippi, Alabama. Now, the midster, that's the surprising thing. Everybody was talking about all the buzz, and the polls were showing the possibility that Santorum might lose those states, and Romney is going to make a late surge, and he was surging in the past week. And as we saw last night, that never came to fruition. In fact, Romney placed third in those two states. It was a little late, so I have no idea what happened with Hawaii, so forgive me on that. But Santorum swept Mississippi and Alabama, so he cleaned up a little bit. Of course, he got a little cocky afterwards. And Newt, for no good reason, was cocky as well, although he was gracious in congratulating Rick Santorum and recognizing what a good campaign he's run. And I think that was an indirect swipe at Mitt Romney, because Mitt Romney has spent such ridiculous amounts of money just to eke out, well, in this case, he spent ridiculous amounts of money, and although I'm not sure if he spent ridiculous amounts of money in Alabama and Mississippi, but thus far he's spent ridiculous amounts of money on everywhere else. So I'm assuming he spent a pretty good chunk of money in those states to come in third. It's a pretty sad state of affairs, but then he did recognize that those were quote-unquote away games for him. So, I mean, what are you going to do? At least he recognized that he was at a big disadvantage, although he ran around flapping his jaws about cheesy grits and biscuits. So, whatever, Mitt. You're a Yankee. Live with it. The problem with Mitt is he just doesn't seem comfortable in his own skin, especially for this campaign. He's just not seeming like he's too comfortable with himself, so that's not really helping his cause too much. But on the other hand, the wonderful part about it is that it keeps stretching things out, fragments the delegate count, keeps this thing rolling and on to a possibly brokered convention, which is the best possible scenario, because then you could end up with some idiot like Palin as the nominee. Wouldn't that be cool? That'd be a big early Christmas gift for Obama. That's Palin. Oh my gosh, that lady is, whoo. But yeah, that was an interesting primary setup last night. It turned out a little bit differently than I thought. Not that I didn't think. I thought Santorum actually would have placed a close second, or it would have been a split between the two states. It's kind of what I was getting the feeling of based on what I was hearing, but it just didn't turn out that way. But which is fine. I mean, that works out great. And Ron Paul, as usual, he was 4% in one state and 5% in the other. So, I mean, go Ron Paul, whatever. And he's absolutely irrelevant. And the thing that's so amusing about Ron Paul is that they always talk about, oh, he's going to get his views heard, and he's going to take those delegates to the convention. It's like, for one thing, he's not going to have an incredibly large amount of delegates, so I mean, I don't know what the big deal is there for all that money he's spending. In fact, I believe he's by far, according to the statistics I was reading yesterday or the day before, I think, Ron Paul has spent the most money per vote out of any of the candidates. And I thought, when I saw the heading of that said money spent per vote, I thought, oh man, Romney's going to be, way up on that. And he's not. And the reason why is because he's won the most, so he's gotten a lot more votes than the other candidates. So even though he's spent an inordinate amount of money, he's got a lot more votes. So when you divide it up, it's a much lower number. Ron Paul he's far and away the highest amount of money per vote. I don't remember the article or where it was, but it was legitimate. It was definitely, it may have been CNN or MSNBC. It was a legitimate news source. It wasn't just a blog entry that somebody whipped up. So this primary season's definitely taking an interesting turn. Not that last night was really unexpected, but it's probably the best possible scenario for the Democrats and for Obama. What is this idiot doing on this scooter? I'm sorry. Got somebody on a scooter that's okie dokie. Alright, now they're at the stoplight and we're out from behind the scooter. Good Lord. What an idiot. But then again, we are in South Florida. It's a conservative capital. Got some winners down here. Just like in Mississippi, you get the toothless wonders that are saying they deserve food stamps, but we don't need a Democratic governor or a Democratic president or governor. These people. I've never seen people that have been duped into voting against their own best interests more than these poor white trash Republicans. It just blows me away. But what are you going to do? You got to deal with them on all fronts, family, friends, wherever. They're just everywhere. There's not much you can do about it, except vote. And that's the thing. That's something that's so important. Everybody, you've got to get out and vote, and you got to vote for Obama. I mean, even if you don't like everything the guy's done, or he's not your perfect candidate, or you think he's this or that or whatever, then think about any of the three Republican candidates, and then or 4 Republican candidates, and then come back and tell me which one you came up with that's going to be the best for everybody. And it certainly isn't going to be the Republicans, I can tell you that right now. I mean, granted, Obama's got faults and he's got problems, but nowhere near what the GOP has. I mean, those guys are an unbelievable disaster. And it's something to keep in mind. I mean, a lot of people don't really think about these things, but Supreme Court justices during during the next 4 years after this election, which would be during whoever wins the election's first or second term, there's gonna probably be at least 2, possibly 3 Supreme Court justices that are going to come up for appointment. And knowing how these current crop of Republicans are, we all know. I mean, even Mitt Romney, Mr. Moderate, Mr. Pro-choice for life, is now wants to overturn Roe v. Wade and wants to outlaw abortion and take us back to the 60s when women were having to have back alley abortions and dying as a result of it. And do we really want that? Because you know damn well that they're going to appoint Supreme Court justices that are going to further that agenda. That's one of the big things on their agenda. The Republican base and the Senate confirmation for those Supreme Court justices are going to have a shit fit if there's a Republican president and his Supreme Court justice picks are not on board with overturning Roe v. Wade. You know that's got to be the most important thing on the list. among other things. And of course, you see what we've gotten with a 5-4 majority, conservative majority in the Supreme Court. We've gotten Citizens United, and among other things. We cannot afford to continue with a conservative majority in the Supreme Court, because if we do, they're going to take us back to the Stone Ages with this shit. So people, you've got to get out and vote for Obama, if for no other reason than that. Because honestly, how has your life gotten worse since Obama's become president? That's what really kills me about these Republicans when they start making their argument. Oh, he's a socialist, and he's a Muslim, and taxes have gone up. They're just, obviously they're either tuning into Fox News or Rush Limbaugh or whatever other number of hate radio talking heads that are on the air, on either Fox News, on TV, or on the radio. These guys are depressing because all they do is fill people's heads full of bullshit. Obama has lowered taxes since he's been in there. Federal income taxes, and federal taxes have not gone up. They've gone down. That's a freaking fact. I know for a fact my paycheck went up a little bit. It wasn't a lot, but it went up exactly what Obama said it was going to go up. Roughly. And so he's kept one of his promises there, giving middle-class people a tax cut, and he's going to continue with the tax cuts for the bottom 98%, which is $250,000 and under, and repeal the Bush tax cut, let it expire for the top 2%, which is how it should be. That'll save a lot of money. It'll help us balance the budget. And you've got all these misnomers and all these things that they're throwing out there. And in actuality, our taxes have gone down. The economy is improving. We're in a recovery mode. That's a fact. You can't deny that. They want to say Obamacare is going to bankrupt the country, and that's bullshit. The CBO, nonpartisan organization, which stands for the Congressional Budget Office, they're the number crunching organization that any legislation that comes through, they take it and they do the numbers and they spit out the results. And the results are, right now, $138 billion over the next decade, I believe, over the first decade, is what the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare, is supposed to save us as a country. And then over the following decade, it's supposed to save us another trillion, or I think it's 1.2 trillion over the second decade. So, that's the thing that's really so annoying about all of it, is it's like when you're talking to these people, the foundation for all of their arguments are based on lies and misinformation or half-truths or distortions of truth. That's why now, how do you, as a reasonable person, have any kind of a discussion or a fact-based debate with people that are like that? You can. That's the problem. So the only way that we can fight this is if we assert ourselves as the majority, and that means getting out and voting. And with all these voter suppression laws that have come down the pike, it's even more important. And it's important that if you know somebody who's being disenfranchised by these voter suppression laws, or somebody that doesn't have a photo ID, do your good deed and take that person somewhere, or give them the $20 they need in order to get their photo ID, because it's so important. You just can't understand how important it is. If we get a Republican president in there, and even if they don't manage to get the majority, the Senate Democrats can't stave it off forever. We don't know how the other elections are going to shake out. For all we know, they could retain the majority in the House and possibly get either a slim majority in the Senate, or a tie, which if we have a Republican president, then the vice president is the tiebreaker in the Senate for vote. So you really can't screw around with this. This is so important, because if you get these Republicans in there in the White House and they have a majority like they did during the Bush administration for the first 6 years, Katie, bar the door, people, because the Koch brothers are full steam ahead right now. And they're going to be throwing money at people like you have never seen, even in this Citizens United era. and it's going to be a disaster. You're going to have EPA is going to be gutted, all kinds of safety regulations and regulations that they feel are all not necessary because they're job killing regulations, which is a bunch of bullshit. They're going to get repealed. You're going to see really bad stuff coming down the pike. You may see more oil spills. You might see, or you're certainly not going to see any climate change legislation. You're not going to see anything for green energy, even though green energy means saving green. But these guys they don't want to. They're so hung up on the whole green connotation, and they are so desperate not to be seen as an environmentalist or caring about the environment that they will do anything to put the brakes on anything related to green energy, because it's all about the fossil fuel industry, oil and natural gas. They just can't see past that. And the reason why they can't see past that is because guess who is the enabler for their lifestyles of the rich and famous? The fossil fuel industry, the oil companies. Why do you think gas prices are so high right now? It's a world market. The president can't do that much for gas prices. I mean, he can do some. Like I said yesterday, you can open the strategic oil reserves and possibly lower gas prices up to $0.25 a gallon, which would be helpful, but not earth-shattering. I mean, something else that's a little bit more substantive that he should really be looking at is the speculation. Is trying to limit oil speculation, because that's adding about 58 cents a gallon, which is that is relatively substantial. So, and we've got to get something done, because this is really, not only is it going to put a drag on the recovery that Obama's worked so hard to get us to and keep us in, but it's also going to put a drag on people's pocketbooks, and which obviously that affects the recovery. But I mean, people's mindset is not good when gas prices are high, and for whatever reason, right now in polling, a lot of people are blaming the president. I don't understand how they can do that, because the president is not the reason why gas prices are high. Even though Fox News is doing their damnedest, they're saying that the president wants to keep gas prices high because then that'll help, that's his strategy to get us off oil, and that all these other cockamamie excuses. And like he said at the press conference, why would a president during election time, or during any time for that matter, want high gas prices? Nobody wants high gas prices. Who the hell wants high gas prices? Nobody wants that. And that's the thing. And it's just so maddening. These guys just will not deal in facts. And, last couple days we've had dealings with a few different people that are hard right religious extremists. And I tell you right now, it's exhausting, and pretty much it's exhausting and depressing to talk to these people and to try to actually rationalize with them, to try to have any kind of a fact-based debate or discussion. It's the ultimate wheel spinning. You cannot imagine what it's like, and that's why I don't ever, or I try to never break the rule of attempting to reason with unreasonable people. And in these cases, I went outside that rule, and man, I regret it completely, because you just can't imagine how depressing and frustrating it is, and to know that there are people out there like that. But the thing that gives me hope, that's the silver lining in all of it, is that I know that those people are in the vast minority. They're not the majority. Just so everyone knows, in case you're in the same boat where you're depressed and you think the world's closing in and everybody's around you is listening to Fox News and you feel like you're going crazy, trust me, they're in the vast minority. You just must live in a conservative area, or you're not hanging out with the right people, because there's plenty of us out there, far more than there are of them, thank the Lord, because once they get the majority, if they ever do, you can hang it up, man. This country's going to be it's going to be time to look to move to Canada or somewhere else, because this country is going to be going downhill rapidly, because it's going to become a religious state, because everything is going to be based on all the legislation, which actually a lot of our legislation currently, you see all these ultrasound bills and the voter suppression bills and all that, or not the voter suppression bills, but the ultrasound bills, all this attack on women and women's reproductive rights, all this stuff is based on religious views, not the Constitution. And anybody that says it's based on the Constitution is fucking full of shit. I'm tired of these assholes calling themselves constitutionalists and talking like their fucking religious views are in the Constitution. No, they're fucking not in the Constitution. The only thing about religion that's in the Constitution is freedom of religion, which means you are free to believe in whatever religion or worship whoever you want, which is a live and let live thing, not a you were forced to subscribe to one religion, or that we're not allowed to mandate anything religious into our government. We're not allowed, which means that basically, you can't inject religion into the government. The government is meant, based on the writings of the Constitution and the historical writings of the authors of the Constitution and the fathers of the Constitution, religion is not meant to be in there. It's meant to be a secular government. Secular government, not fucking religious. Damn it. I'm so sick of these jerk-offs that are so freaking hypocritical and want to inject religion into our government. That's why there is the separation of church and state. It is a fact. Sorry, I had to get that off my chest. It was boiling. I had to let out the steam. So, sorry if I turn anybody off. And hey, I could really use feedback. If you guys listen to this, tell me what you'd like me to do differently. If you don't want me to be profane, as profane, then I'll dial it down a notch. If you like the firebrand, tell me. I think we need more firebrand in the progressive side of things. But we still got to make sure that we're fact-based. We still got to make sure that we're on the right side of things, that we are the champions of what's right. That means correct, not right, as in Republican. We have to make sure that we talk in reality. And if for some reason I'm saying something wrong, or I'm feeding you guys misinformation, or you hear something that you're like, what the hell is he talking about? That's not right. By all means, shoot me an email, mymorningdrive@shredoftruth.com. Shredoftruth.com is my website. Please feel free to go there and explore it and leave comments and post blogs and all kinds of good stuff. But please email me and tell me. I like the feedback. Or if you have a topic you want to talk about, please, shoot me an email. Tell me. I want constructive criticism. I want suggestions. I want news stories. If you've got a story that you stumble onto that you don't see on my site or you don't think is getting enough attention, please shoot it to me. I'll put it on the website and I'll talk about it. Definitely. Right now, this is we're at the beginning stages of this whole thing. I'm still trying to feel my way through it. I'm still dealing with equipment issues. The windshield mount's still kind of shaky. I think I need to get a different windshield mount. My microphone setup is not, for whatever reason, is kind of inconsistent at times, and I don't know why. But that's just the way it is. Technology's not perfect yet, so I'm getting there. So, I appreciate you guys listening to me, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody and just get all this stuff off my chest. I'm a dude with a lot to say, especially about politics, and I can use a platform where I can get it all out. And I appreciate you guys sticking with me on my ride every morning. So I will talk to everybody later. Happy Hump Day. It's Wednesday, March 14th. It's been great talking with you. My name is John, and I'm out. Have a good one.